Welcome to the Jira Life, the place to find news, events, and interviews with the Atlassian Community's movers and shakers. Join our hosts, Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira guy Nissen, as well as the Jira amigos in the Peanut Gallery, as we sit down and discuss the latest going on in the Atlassian ecosystem. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life, the Jira Life chose us.
Hello,
Matt.
hello.
Hello.
We just one hello. Sorry. I know someone does not like that.
I hate the double hellos. Matt, guess who is now as cool as you?
Who's that?
These two right here, because we're officially a group of 3 authors.
That's right. This is a truly literate session.
I wasn't there last time.
Hey, look, I've got it.
Oh,
I've got it. I'm. You can see I'm halfway through and ready to write a review. I may even write the review without reading the second half. But yeah, good stuff.
Famous last words. But it's I have a lot more respect for you than I did the last time we spoke.
Wait, are you saying you didn't have respect for the last time? I never picked up on that.
I now know what it takes to write a book, and I wouldn't want this on anyone. And so the fact that you've written more than one, right?
3 total.
Yeah. The fact that you did this mistake 3 times, I have more respect.
Well, I have to say it's there was a lot of 3 a.m. start, working till 9 a.m., go off to the day job, and then see the family later in the day. It was a challenge, but very satisfying.
I don't know.
No, you will. There'll be people come up to you and say, your book really helped me do this thing that I needed to do for work, and because of that I got this promotion and and you'll be like, all right, it made a difference. It will. Yeah.
But see, I have the YouTube channel, so I get that.
You've already tell them that.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already told all of it. This is something we've all heard at some point or another.
Yeah.
And it's different, right? So I'm assuming, Matt, when you wrote the book, you didn't really have an online presence, like.
Early Atlassian Community, different version of it than it was now, but I was known there, and I've done a bunch of user group presentations and things, but there wasn't the same kind of online community as we have now. I mean, there was no real YouTube starting and private podcasts, and people like Nick Bruff. Nick Bruff did have a presence because every other answer on the community was from Nick Bruff. So
what you should do, what I think, I don't know who what's the lady that we interviewed? Trudy?
Rachel?
No,
Trudy. Yes.
I was telling I don't know if I told Trudy this, but now I kind of wish I told Trudy. I hope I told Trudy this. I would just take all her answers from the Atlassian community and stick those in a book.
Oh yeah.
And go 50,000 questions answered. Your Jira top 50,000 questions answered.
Mm-hmm.
The saga. And that'd be a book. Like I have a book on my bookshelf here where the guy that wrote the 4-Hour Workweek. Oh, somebody help me on the thing. Tim Ferriss. He wrote like 10 questions, emailed them to 200 people. 70 replied, and he pasted the answers in the book and said, "Here you go, publisher. Send me $1 million."
Well, I doubt it was $1 million, but the problem is not putting it into the book. The problem is making it accessible and getting people to want to read it, because frankly, nobody's looking at paper for references these days. In fact, if I were trying to put all the topics that you guys covered in your book, if I were trying to do those at practice at work, I'd have a big PDF up on my screen and be cutting and pasting bits there. The printed copies are a nice artifact, but they're not the.
We just need to become an LLM of Jira questions and answers.
Yeah, you are already. I'm sure there's people mining everything in this and mining this video, and
If Atlassian isn't, I'd be shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Atlassian making so much money off of us, and we get nothing.
Well, I hope it's not nothing, because I wanted to raise that point. Just last week I became what do you call it? A Jira amigo for the channel.
Yeah. So
Yes,
thank you very much.
Yeah.
I know, and I wanted to give a call out. So people, I'm looking at the comments as well. I want to see. I know a few people in there are. But what are the benefits you get for your top level sponsorship thingy?
We have quite a few. We have quite a few different levels. But I'll let Rodney run through them.
Rodney is going to have to go back to his dashboard because he doesn't remember
we
off
have
the top of his head.
yeah. There's some it's something I think we can work on improving as we continue over the time. But one of the things is like shout outs, right? So one of them is like at the end of the video, you get a special thanks and recognition. Some of them are verbal depending on where you are. But I'll give you an example of something that I'm cooking and haven't really shared with Rodney, but we may be doing this in the future. And like right now, we're doing the ACP 120 study guide in as a live stream, and so there's benefits like sidebar to that story. You can ask like a question or something like that, or comments or something. I forget. Rodney has a whole list in there somewhere. But one of the things we're doing is ACP 120, right? So we're looking at ways of like maybe through a members program, we can have special courses that we do just with you guys, like with just the members. Or we do special like Q&A type of things. I do know that as a members, our news break that we publish once a week, that goes out to the members first, to certain members first, and then the rest of the community.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool.
We're trying to make it worth your $5 or $10 or whatever it is that you sign up for.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm happy. Yeah, I want to.
Yeah, on my main channel, I'm gonna do two pretty interesting things for that membership. Which again, I'm trying to figure out what we do here with Rodney and team. But I'm doing a 30 days of Jira training, and so rather than uploading 30 videos to YouTube, these are gonna be basically paywalled, right? So if you're a member, you'll get access to my 30 days of Jira training, and then I'm also working on Udemy courses, and so for my more higher tier members, I'll drop the full module into the members area before it drops on Udemy. So as it's being developed, you'll get it before the general public can buy it.
All right,
stuff like that.
I'll look forward to it.
All right. So other benefits we do have currently is you get to add to our list of quick Quizlet questions. So if you have something that's like your favorite get to know people question, that is thing. You get the shout outs we said. You can submit questions to guests if you're like really excited about, hey, Matt Doar's on. I really always want to ask Matt this question. You get a chance to do that at our Confluencer level.
Oh dear. Okay. Actually, that's quite useful. I can do that.
Who did Jira Life? This is where you come to have fun, do it into a drinking game. Well, we should do what would be a really great game for our community is taking a shot every time we say the word Jira. I don't
want alcohol poisoning.
No, that's too hard.
Fine. Every time somebody calls it Jira,
make them take a shot. No.
Make them, as a punishment.
Make them take a shot of what, though? Because I can grow some ghost peppers if we need to.
No, thank you. No, I'm a mild and gentle sort of guy when it comes to the food. So I've heard there's this mystery thing called a script that's been put together this week. Is that right, Alex?
We got one. So let me give you a backstory before we get into it for the community here.
Sure.
So our producer Bob, he's in Atlanta or was in Atlanta and is now flying back to Phoenix. And so he basically put out a little announcement saying like, well, I'm going to be 30,000 feet in the air. Who wants to volunteer to do the producing of the next show? And so my wife, since she's technically a producer as well, at least a credited producer, she's like, we'll do it, right? So we got to thinking, we're like, what do we ask Matt Doar that we haven't asked Matt Doar? Because if you recall, Matt, this is what, your second time on?
Sometime last year, second, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, but then I had you on my main channel, and we had that, fun business with your Jira data discussion.
Oh, yes.
So we're like, what do we ask Matt that we have that the world doesn't know? So we're like, I know. Let's turn over to our handy dandy artificial intelligence assistant, and let's figure out let's go beyond the door.
Oh my goodness! So I have to take a drink. I have to take a drink every time you make a joke about the surname Doar. Is that the
Yeah, I mean, there's that. But they're doing all this. They're planning all this. Meanwhile, as we were talking earlier, I've been sick all week. This is the first day I've felt pretty decent. So
so this entire show is produced by Lina and Alex.
Good.
Good.
So if things seem a little different, if Alex actually read the script for once, that's why.
Unhinged. I was unhinged because I had nobody to control me or reel me back in. So get your tequila shots ready. And
all right, suitably warned. Okay.
And to be honest, I think I need to be sick more often because I really like this script.
All right, let's kick it off. All right.
Cool.
So you've written books, given some talks, and obviously mentored a few people. What drives you to continue giving back to the community?
Yeah. I think it's the same thing that drives me and all the rest of what I want to spend my time doing, which is just being helpful, being a sort of useful guy. And that applies in the community, what I do at work, what I do in the rest of outside work. It's just about trying to help people, and also the long history of helping people in the community. So I've got a lot of people that I've either met or met online, or just I
Have you
get
ever
a
met
kick out of
someone in
helping.
the community that didn't like you?
That didn't like me?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You don't have to name names, but
No, I don't think I've ever had that sense. But then maybe I'm just not picking up on the signs that they're doing things, and I'm just clueless. I'm just like, didn't seem to want to talk to me. But no, I mean, there's a few people in the community I've rolled my eyes at and thought, when are they going to stop talking? Things like that. But, oh no, not you.
I mean,
I'll take the hint.
Oh, maybe it was you. Oh, no, I don't.
I was about to say, is it some Jira guy somewhere?
The community is pretty respectful. I think it helps having Atlassian making good effort about that. But they set a tone, and any group of gathering of people, you're going to see some aberrant behavior that needs redirecting. But it's not that much. The most vigorous thing that I see is in the community leader Slack, which has a channel called the Ban Hammer, and there's like 10 users a day get just knocked out, and they're usually AI or somebody being a goofball or unhelpful, I should say.
Was there anybody that you looked up to at the beginning? Like, what inspired you to get this?
Yeah. Well, in the early forums, which was the only place that I met people. I mean, a lot of the early Atlassians, to be fair, these were the times when Mike Cannon Brooks was around, and Scott, and other senior technical people. Dan Hardiker was one out of one of the founders of Atlassian.
And Mike knows you by name.
He does, yeah.
I remember. I remember we were at the conference, we were at the community leader dinner, and he's like, "My boy, Mr. Doar."
Yeah, it is funny. I mean, I didn't have a beard, and I had hair, and when I started in Atlassian, and time passes by. I didn't expect to stay in the community. I followed the money for independent consulting jobs, and Atlassian kept pushing them my way as somebody in Silicon Valley who was small and easy to work with, and lots of interesting stuff. So it's kept me going. I think that's the other thing. I like helping people, but I also want interesting technical challenges were the original thing that kept me going.
Well, there's no shortage of challenges with the Jira in the Atlassian life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you feel like you've mastered Jira at this point?
No, I think you just have degrees of confidence. Somebody actually, Atlassian asked me one day about, we're in a big room, and they said, how many people here feel they have experience of imposter syndrome? And all sorts of people stuck their hands up, maybe half the room. And then I think I said something very arrogant, like, no, I don't feel like I get imposter syndrome with Atlassian. I feel very comfortable. But there's plenty of other tools where, I feel equally impostery or at a loss. So
Matt, looks like we're gonna have to make a board game after you and your Jira wizardry.
Someone, and I'm not going to say who, but someone for Team 24 was trying to put together like a trading card game of Atlassian creators and other personalities.
that would be great, wouldn't it? There's a lot of them, and I can name a few of the earlier ones too. Actually, thinking wizardry, I need to make a call out. did either of you two ever play games on an Apple II? No, you didn't, did you?
No.
There was this game called
Came around
Wizardry.
Apple 57.
Wizardry in 1981, I think, was one of the first dungeon crawling games. And the reason I'm bringing it all up is because you said wizard, and the guy who wrote it just died. It's like he's reached, the whole cycle of games and computing is reaching a point where the original people from when I was a child or a teenager are now passing away. And it's very sad. These games, the first games you play are always the most vivid ones, right? I mean,
I still remember my very first game. What was the first one that you can remember?
Probably this Wizardry. It was I played it so much I had dreams where I was still playing it in my dreams, and then I had to stop playing. It was like a full overload as a teenager, which was
I remember vaguely one on the Nintendo Entertainment System, because for full disclosure, I was born in *89.
Right.
So those '80s games, they were
graduating college in '89, by the way. But yes.
But yeah, no, I still very, very vividly remember my original. Fun fact, I still have a lot of my original video games.
Cool.
All the from SNES forward, I have every single copy of every game of every console.
Wow. You need a room to celebrate your games.
I do have a room just for that.
How did I guess?
How did you guess?
Weren't you telling me earlier, Alex, that you're like restarting your podcast about games or something like that?
Yeah.
Cool.
My little cousin and I were talking about the current state of video gaming affairs from the lenses of 1990 gamers, because it's video gaming today is, I don't even know where it's at anymore. It makes me sad.
I grew up on especially Nintendo consoles, NES, Super NES, the N64, all that. But when I was a teenager, I asked for my own computer. So my dad, being the practical joker he was, gave me his old Commodore 64 and all his old games for that.
Oh,
it's like, well, you got a computer now.
Yeah, start at the bottom, wax on, wax off, and you'll get there finally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just building it up from there. I actually had to build my first Windows computer, and that was out of spare parts. Sorry, go ahead.
I was having to explain to my 7-year-old today that we didn't grow up with Wi-Fi.
That wasn't a thing.
It's great. It's great for dating movies, isn't it? You see a telephone with a wire on it or a big monitor, and you're like, okay, I can exactly date when that movie was made. And
I've been watching Seinfeld from the beginning, and they had a couple of episodes where they had a physical phone in the car. Wow.
Car phone.
It was like this big. Yeah.
Yeah, but like a physical phone. I'm like, wow, that must have been like some rich people back then.
You guys, you are making me feel very old right now. I have a true fact, which is that I actually started coding quite early. I was about 10 or 11. And it was basic. It was a PDP-11 with paper tape. So I had access to a computer there. And then, it just went on from there. So I started my middle child coding at about 12 as well, starting with Emacs and Python, because, good place to start. And it's interesting watching a young teenage person learning to code. The first thing they really learn to code is that it's just very frustrating. The experience of working with computers is not a happy one when you're starting, whether you're trying to get your game playing, trying to write some code, whatever you're doing. But eventually, if you can deal with the frustration, then you can stick with coding. And that's all the career advice I give people now is like, if you're thinking about a career in tech,
more perseverance, less skills.
How good are you at dealing with frustration? Because boy, are you going to need it with all of this stuff that we do.
If you can sum up the skills that you need as a Jira admin, perseverance.
Oh no, Jira admin, you have to be able to say no, and that took me years. I was a Jira admin for a long time before I could say no. But if you can say no, then you're going to be so much happier, and everyone else in your company will be so much happier if you say no.
Now we're in trouble.
So it said Sean 3 times, so he appeared.
He has arrived.
How's the conference there, Sean?
Yeah, did you eat that NVIDIA cookie yet? You left us on a cliffhanger there, buddy. That cookie's probably. I read that 73% of NVIDIA employees today are millionaires.
Wow, really?
Yeah, for just the amount of craziness that their stock has gone up like 6,000%.
You know,
crazy?
That really is a little upsetting to hear, because at one point I was asked to join the video.
Oh man, that would be
me too.
heartbreaking to hear. I remember my wife and I toured NVIDIA in 2009. We were looking at this a couple months ago when the stock went crazy. And I think 41 cents a share is what it would have been after all the splits and stuff. I'm like, instead of flying home, we should have walked home and just spent our plane ticket buying NVIDIA shares at 41 cents a share. We'd be so well off right now. Hindsight, 2020, man.
Hindsight.
Speaking of hindsight, were there moments where you felt overwhelmed or questioned your involvement in the Atlassian world? Like, did you ever feel like you weren't good enough, or did you know that this was
so I mentioned the imposter thing earlier. If you're curious enough about something technically, I've never thought of myself as an imposter. I just thought of myself as a student and learning. And it's just like, oh, look, there's a different path here.
But all of us are students, Matt. But you did it publicly. There's a difference.
I mean, Alex, are we not doing it publicly as well? Did we not just have a session yesterday?
We are, but it's cool to do it publicly today.
So you can conquer. I mean, there is always a fear of appearing ignorant in a public session. You're standing in front of a customer, and they use some word or some acronym, and you've no clue what that means. What are you going to do, right? So early on, I worked out that if I said, they'd say, "Oh, we need to make sure we account for the Foopwurzel," and I'll be like, what is a Foopwurzel? So what I would say is, just a minute. In this context, what do you mean by Foopwurzel? Because obviously I know a lot of other Foopwurzels, but perhaps you just explain the specific context of Foopwurzel when it comes to this organization. And I think that gave me enough confidence to know that they knew that I didn't know what they were talking about, because it was something very specific, but it didn't make me feel like I was just saying, oh, excuse me, what is a Foopwurzel? So in this context, good words.
But it takes a lot of courage, though, right? Because like a lot of people, I've seen this, I guess maybe even culturally, where I see this a lot in corporate America, actually, where like some director or VP says, "Go do this," and it's like a down sloping snowball effect of like telephone game. And by the time it gets to me at the very bottom, I was like, "What in the world are you guys asking me?"
Yeah.
And
no. That comes. I mean, I've always been pretty humble. Some would say with reasonable cause. I think if you have a degree of humility, then it allows you to say, "Okay, I'm just going to ask this very senior person exactly what they meant by that."
That's essentially what I did. Because by the time I got the request, I was like, I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I log in and I'm bombarded with like, I need this data out of Jira. I'm like, pump the brakes. First of all, let me get the cobwebs off my eyes. And two, what are you asking me? Like,
So clear communication, some prioritization. I mean, you can always pull out the brutal, which one of my other very urgent tasks would you like me to not work on today, so that I can work on your task that's obviously very urgent. And then the other question is, could you just explain to me how this change in Jira that you're asking me to make, improves the team productivity and makes more money for the company? And then people tend to go very quiet because they're like, well, it doesn't. It's just an idea I had.
But you just made every Jira admin's life easier. Any request, folks, you get as a Jira admin, ask, how does this financially move the needle?
Well,
don't drop it.
It's a valid question for any change in any organization, right? How is it improving things? How are we going to be a better organization after we do this? Or is it
every single one of my Jira ticketing systems?
Or is this just because you like doing things that way?
But it is a brilliant request, especially when you get those plugin requests, because we all dealt with those app requests. And when you just throw it back to them like, okay, how is this going to either make us more money or make us more productive? They start asking themselves that question, and they get very quiet and very timid really quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the other thing you can do specifically with plugins and apps is you can say, look, there's a marketplace out there. There's 4 different apps that do what you're asking about in this one app. Why don't you take a look at them all? I'll take a look at them all as a Jira admin, and then I'll help you choose which are the ones that we're going to install, because we're not going to install 4 different apps to do the same thing, which is, that's pretty obvious.
Sarah.
Oh, okay, Sarah, you got me there.
So first of all, make sure you speak very clearly, because she likes to listen to this in the car.
Well, the first trick is not to be too sarcastic or snarky about it all. I find that, don't you?
So Sarah's going to strike out on that one, because Sarah's pretty sarcastic.
So, you know what? I think what I've described in those last 5 minutes is a very much a summary and what I would like to be able to say in that way. But in general, paying customer, someone I'm trying to help, I'm going to come at it more gently because of humility. I might be wrong. I might not be understanding the full context. But in a half-hour meeting, I would actually come down to those kinds of questions. And quite often, the meeting will go along nicely and we'll be talking about this and I've finally understood everything. And then at the end, I'm thinking, okay, there's going to be a point when I ask that killer question that just very clearly says what I want to say and drives the point home. And then I'll, take all the action items. And I don't think that's threatening. If you've talked to somebody for half an hour and they feel that you've understood what they're trying to do,
I would say,
then,
I would add a couple of things. One, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a phenomenal book in learning how to speak with people. But the other thing I would say is, I know it takes a lot of thick skinniness, if that's a word, from people, but clear and concise communication, even if it sounds like arrogant or sarcastic or whatever, I think it's better than beating around the bush. Because when you're not clear, then people assume a lot of things, and you know what happens when you assume.
Yeah. I learned a lot from Rob Castaneda, the Service Rocket CEO, when inevitably you're doing consulting and you have some customers that things go sideways, customers mad, don't want to pay, whatever. And he would get hauled into calls where the customer was an angry call. And I was thinking, oh, gosh, I really don't want to be on this call. But I'd listen to him, and he has the most amazing empathy skills. He's listening to the customer. He's wanting to clearly communicate what they want and what we've done or we had done for them. And then he sits back, and almost always by the end of the half-hour call, he's come up with some way that we can all work together and make progress forward. So it's that feeling that they've heard us, with the people providing the service understand that there's a problem, there's been a mismatch, and what are we going to do about it to make things better?
I think if Mark Ruth were looking for an opportunity to make a lot of money, I would want to take empathy coaching from Mark Ruth.
Yeah.
But two, like how you respond, I can see me as a content creator, like an entire series on how to respond to Jira questions. I'll give you a great example of a story that happened to me this week. A couple of days ago, I'm doing my Jira thing, and I got a message from somebody saying, how do I get this tool, this external tool, to create a Confluence page automatically? And I'm like, the question could have been like, is it possible? Do you know of a way? But he was like, I need an answer. And I'm like, I'm Dr. Jira. You're asking me, one, for Confluence, and two, you're asking me for another third-party tool that's not Atlassian made. Like, how do you want me to like know everything, right? But like the approach of what this individual took to get my attention, I think, already starts you on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if I were to make some course, right, it'd be like, okay, how do we take a second when you read these Jira questions? Because you don't want to regurgitate or react and respond with your immediate, like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe you just asked me this question mentality.
Yeah. I mean, I do delete a lot of responses. Even on the Atlassian community, I'll write out what I'm thinking, and then I'm like, no, Control-A, delete on that one.
You know what I've been doing recently?
All the time.
I've been typing responses. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying I do that all the time. I'll type out a response with how I'm actually feeling. Then I'm like, no, let's start over. And then there's you get that question and you just have to sit there and stop, close your eyes, take a breath, then write an answer, because you don't want to go with your first thoughts sometimes when you read some of these questions.
And you may have got it, off kilter. You may not see what they're saying. So yeah, I mean, it all comes down to, wait a minute, what are you trying to do? And I don't mean the specific technical thing. I mean, like, why would you want to be able to? Yeah, why?
Yeah, what's the lie here?
Go from there. But I agree. I have to say, the whole, could you just integrate this tool with Jira? Because they've both got 4 letters in their names, so it should be easy. You're like, what? But yeah.
Someone, and this was actually serendipitously about 6 months before Atlassian bought them, asked me to integrate Jira and Trello. There was no integration path back then. And I'm like, I'm not even sure what that tool is. You're going to have to give me a moment to do some research here.
Someone literally needs to make a course. Like, this is something, this should be an ACP or an ACA of like how to deal with Jira requests from your team.
Oh no, I think it's earlier. I think we need high school courses on how to ask questions, how to give good answers, how to step back, and
how to be a good human.
Think about it. Well, that's tougher to teach in high school, particularly. Having just come out of middle school.
I think that one should at least be a college course.
What the golden rule? Do unto others as they do unto you.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Imagine a world. Do they even teach that stuff in school anymore?
They teach it in many places, but not particularly in schools directly. I think
I grew up with the golden rule growing up.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I gotta ask my kid. Also, apparently, it's a thing where all the newer generation, they think that 911, like we dialed 911 because of September 11th, not because of something that was created in the 70s.
Yes. Wow. Tough. And 1 in 365 people have a birthday on 9/11 as well, which is kind of tough, isn't it? Celebrating your birthday.
Oh man, this is so much fun. Let's keep going. So, what has been your most fulfilling moment in your journey with the Atlassian tools? And it can't be that fact that Mike and that you have like Mike's cell phone number and you get texting buddies.
I think the first Jira book that I did was very satisfying. It was definitely like a summary of all the best advice I had for Jira admins, and it was one of 2 very early books at least, and Mike and Scott wrote a foreword for it, and I felt really appreciated.
Wait, you got Mike and Scott to write your foreword?
I think I wrote the foreword and gave it to Mike and Scott, and they approved it.
Still.
That is the way that most book puffs on the back of a book that say by other people happen.
What did we think of that?
They make a few tweaks.
I don't know. It would have been much easier.
Could have actually gone forward had we done that. Wow.
There's one. I haven't got a copy here, but the one of the notes on the back there from a senior guy, Dan Grillo at LinkedIn, he said his quote says, "Matt has helped us with Jira at LinkedIn a lot, and he hasn't broken anything recently." And I was like, hit it, print it.
That is.
Have you thought about rewriting or writing a new one?
Yeah, I've thought about it. I'm more likely to do a revisit the book, X years later, and see what did I get right, what's still valid. Because I don't think that books are the way that people go for the technical information. A lot of the times now, it's the YouTubes, it's the all the sections you're doing. So
you can come on our channel whenever you want, Matt.
Casa
tu casa. Yeah. Your video, your data video that we did, we pulled up some numbers for you, but it's done pretty well.
Oh, good.
Ronnie's still the undefeated champion, though. That Ronnie kicked us off with God knows what he was talking about that day.
Well, the data center.
I don't even know if I know what I was talking about that day.
You were there. I was there technically. Matt Doar. What? Let's see. When did we publish that video? We published that video June 13th, almost 200 views.
Yeah. Well, is it monetized? Is there a proportion? No.
I know, right? But let me tell you. Let me see monetization. Okay, so it's on. That video has gotten me a whooping $1.78. So how much of that do you want?
I think you should just donate some of that to whatever charity floats your boat.
The state of California sent me a letter telling me that they did a little accounting error on my taxes recently, and the delta was 8 cents. And I told my wife the amount of labor that went into fixing and catching this 8-cent error. Somebody had to create the letter. Somebody had to mail the letter. The postage stamp cost letter money. The delivery of said letter, and then the delivery to my house. The amount of resources that were consumed for an 8-cent mistake. Sometimes I think about that.
It's kind of wacky, isn't it? I thought the IRS only worked to dollars.
This is state of California, so they're wackier than the IRS. Folks, do not do business in the great state of California because the worst state.
No, so Alex, when are you moving here? Then,
dude, I first chance I get, Rodney, I am out of this place.
Wow. Well, I've been here 30 years now, so I raised family. My wife is local, Northern California.
And you live in the most expensive part of California.
I do. You were talking about being millionaires earlier on. I had this very uncharitable thought about, well, if you haven't got a bunch of money, how are you going to stay in Silicon Valley? So
it blows my mind. Do you live there? Do you ever go to like a restaurant or something? Because I've heard rumors that at the restaurants, people are like, I just like $2 million today. No big deal. I'll make $5 million tomorrow.
No, I don't hear that, but I have had that experience. I mean, I have been through, boom and bust cycles. And in the first one I was in was the 2000 .com boom. And there was one day I woke up with $1 million richer on paper. And then, 6 months later, it wasn't there, and I was back to the grindstone.
Speaking of, so my wife had a coworker who had an opportunity to work at Qualcomm, like be one of the very, very first single-digit employees at Qualcomm, and he passed. Did you ever in your career have an opportunity for like an up-and-coming startup in that 30 years?
Early Cisco missed. Pre-IPO Google, NVIDIA.
No.
LinkedIn chose not to join pre-IPO, which would have been a lot more.
Matt, you're just gonna make me cry. You need more fingers.
You know what? Would I have stayed at those? Would I have enjoyed the same way that I enjoyed the different consulting? No, I like to think that I've been lucky enough to end up not choosing career solely based on money. I mean, obviously, I've got to make the money to, pay for the California living and the family and all that. But no, it's just funny when you think back, actually. The first few times you're like, dang, I wish I'd done that. But I had one startup that did really well, got me half a house. I had other startups that took a bunch of money and didn't see anything out of it. And you're like, yeah.
Did you ever think about building your own company at any point?
Yeah, I did. When I first set up as consulting, that was my own one-man consulting. I called it Consulting Toolsmiths, plural. And it was a lie.
The illusion that you had more than one person.
That's right. It was only ever me. I mean, sometimes I could put different accents on the phone, which is kind of a fun thing to do. I did have those moments as a one-man company when I'd go to get validated at a customer, and they would say, "Okay, well, we're going to need to call up your HR department to confirm that you're a suitable employee for us to hire as a consultant." So then they'd go away, and then they'd call me up again 5 minutes later, and they'd be like, "Am I talking to the HR department at this company?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, that's me." And they would ask me about myself. It was just a little bit surreal.
Look at Matt, man. He had quite the history here. 30 years in Silicon Valley. I tell you, I stepped foot in Silicon Valley in 2009. My wife and I, we both spent a month there, and if it wasn't for the cost of living, like I would happily. I've actually done the math. It would be cheaper for me to fly out every single week, and fly back than to live there. But the energy that you feel in Silicon Valley is just unparalleled to like anywhere else.
Yeah,
at least if you're an engineer developer.
I always loved the fact that I had a choice of companies. There was never going to be any question that there'd be somebody around who I could probably get a job with. So that felt, very secure for me. And having my wife and her family be just up the road in Sunnyvale, where she grew up, was a big factor. And then by the time you have kids and the kids get into schools and have friends and all their activities, it's a lot harder to drag everybody away. We did actually, because she's American and I'm English, and we did think about moving back to the UK about 20 years ago. And then I was the one who finally said, I just can't handle the weather, just too much. So
I hear it rains a lot over there.
Oh, well, if it's not raining, it's grey, and except when it's sunny. But I mean, I go back a lot, see all my family there. But it's now I'm going to stay in California as long as I can. Sarah was asking an interesting question. Would I take the same path if starting today?
Sarah, you can't steal my question.
Oh, sorry, Alex.
No.
Do you want to repeat Sarah's question?
Yeah. On a similar note, would you take the same path today if you were starting all
over? Yes, I would, because I don't think I had a path. I don't think I had a career till I was about 40. No matter what they say in high school about, you have to choose what career you're going to pursue. I was just like, I've got a degree, got another degree. I'm going to be doing technical stuff that interests me. So I always followed was it interesting? Did I like the people? Was it making enough money? And I think that's a reasonable balance of all the needs. Yeah.
How do you think the Atlassian community benefits from veterans like yourself and a few others that are your caliber?
Well, I think we've got great photos to post of the old merch, all the old T-shirts and all that stuff.
Yep.
I think.
Do you guys ever feel like, obviously you guys are a huge contribution, right? There's a group of you, right? Like, Fox being one, right? Even William here, who's on the call, Will, right? But like, do you feel like a responsibility to continue to give back? Do you feel an entitlement for being in for so long?
No. I think it just gives me a different perspective, the historical perspective. So sometimes there are changes that come from Atlassian. I'll be like, didn't they do something like that 10 years ago? And I'm quite sure that
all the things I'm complaining about, I've been there.
Yeah. So that's an interesting perspective. I don't feel entitled, I think. Just that comes back to a humility thing. And I don't feel, what was the other choice? The other question before that?
So the entitlement, or do you feel like a certain sense of responsibility to continue to give back or something?
No, I've got a responsibility not to piss off Atlassian too much and to be honest with the company that I'm working with, which is Adaptivist. You can see this very cute cat. It's an Adaptivist cat. But I don't think responsibility is a word that anyone would ever really apply to me too much, because sometimes, the mouth just opens and the speech comes out and people look at you a bit funny. But that's okay. I think I feel that I fit in well enough with this community that they overlook some of the occasional oddnesses. It's great.
So Sean must have admitted at the beginning, I helped Lina write the script. So this is why I'm following, because it's technically my creation.
I'm just going to look at the script again. I've got check boxes on it.
We got time for one more because the Quizlet's going to take more than 5 minutes. So
that's exciting.
And so Sarah already took the younger self, right? But let's talk about the next generation, right? Let's maybe some words of insights, right? As you can see, I've been in this ecosystem for a little bit. We have new players like Sarah. Sarah's been in it for a long time, right? But we have new members that are becoming more vocal, people that are getting involved in the community, newer members that are becoming involved in the community. What words of wisdom, inspiration would you like if you were to pass the torch and go here? Like, what do you have to say to them?
Be respectful. Be careful not to hit send on your first response. I mean, it's not Atlassian specific. It's just decent human being, and that's going to get you welcomed in almost any community. Oh, and then start providing something useful. As soon as you provide useful help to people, they're immediately like, oh, I like that response. I'll look out for that person again. So you're building your own credibility, one step at a time. Take opportunities to make yourself. Thank you, Sean. Yes, you're absolutely right about the sunscreen. Take opportunities to make yourself.
You move to a city like Sunnyvale, you're gonna need some sunscreen.
to publicize. Publicize yourself. Don't be shy about putting yourself out there. I think that was some good advice I got when I came to America. Another Englishman said to me, nobody will blow your horn for you. You have to blow your own horn, meaning in many cultures, it's not considered okay to push yourself forward and say, look at me, I'm actually quite good at this. But in America, you get what you say. It's not a passive aggressive thing. You've actually got to go out and say, look, I'm an expert. I can help you here. And I think I know there's people in the Atlassian community that I've met from other countries that are like, well, I don't do that. That's not how I do it.
Yeah, I mean, I just come out here and start blabbing and yapping. It seems to have worked out pretty well for me. I've only managed to pick up Atlassian once or twice.
Yeah, same here. And I just literally claimed a domain and start writing what I thought was good advice.
Yeah. I mean, you're always going to piss off somebody, right? You can't make everybody happy. We know that. But
Atlassians are really big someone now to make unhappy, and that gets scary.
Yeah, I know people have been thrown out of the community. Each one of those has hurt when I've learned about it.
But and I think we talked about this last week or at some point, right? But I feel like Rodney and myself and members that write or creating content, we have a certain balance to maintain, right? Because we can't also just be, hey, Atlassian's the greatest place ever, even if you're like texting buddies with Mike like you are, right? but at the same time, what? I'm gonna start a rumor that Mike and like
you stop that. You stop that. Mike will get you. That will piss off Mike.
Ooh, we found how to get under Matt's skin there. I was generally just very surprised when Mike knew you by name at that dinner. I was like, this is when you know you're in a room with a legend.
Well, legend is a word for nearly dead, so that's a dangerous one to throw out.
Unless you're Will Smith, right?
Actually, you know what? Because when I was thinking about joining Adaptist, I was also thinking, is that time to retire from Atlassian and go do different stuff? But I'm still enjoying it, and where was I going with that? Oh, dear. See, I should be retiring if I'm losing track.
I was going to say, how many more years?
I think I do look more now about what does it mean to leave a community and to leave it in a healthy place, and to see the number of posts and podcasts and vibrant community is what really gives me pleasure. I feel like it's in a better place than it has been ever before. And I expect it to continue. So that makes it easier for me to think about, well, I'm going to be able to step away and not leave a huge hole that won't get filled. So
because I mean, go ahead, Rodney.
When you do decide to step away, when it is officially time, I think a hole will be felt whether there's people there to fill it or not, just because you have left such an indelible legacy. I mean, we had Rachel on here not too long ago, and we were like, who was your inspiration? And she said, Matt Doar.
Well, there were a bunch. I know Rachel's just done such a wonderful job of bringing some high quality education to the community. You know, the LinkedIn learning thing she did.
Yep.
I think LinkedIn asked me if I wanted to do LinkedIn learning, and then I read the details, and they're like, "No, we won't pay you because you're a LinkedIn employee." And I'm like, "Well, I think I've got somebody else who might want to actually earn some money from all this stuff." So I think that was how Rachel got connected. But Yeah, you know what? There's a bunch, and we're just talking North America here. Think of all the European ones. World's largest concentration of Jira admins is Germany. I think. So,
I know. If you look at my summer of Atlassian, like almost all of them were either from Siebert or from Germany.
yeah.
I thought, Rodney, you were gonna say if and when, Matt, you did decide to hang up your close your door, if you will.
Number 2, get in there. Good job.
Sorry, get it open. But if and when you did decide to close this door, I thought Rodney was gonna say we're gonna do a 10-hour live stream.
No, it's going to be 24 hours.
No, Matt. No, I don't know why you guys are so fixated on these punishing live streams. I'm like, people just you look so tired by the end of it.
We were in pretty good shape on this 10-hour one.
10 hours is pretty good. 10 hours is pretty decent
time. We got to the halfway point. When we got to the halfway point, I was like, there's 4 hours left. I remember last time I had been doing this for 20 hours.
Look, it's like buying a lump of cheese at the supermarket. Cheese tastes delicious when you eat a slice, you eat 2, but eating the whole block of cheese that you just bought at the supermarket in one extended run, maybe kind of overloading. So no.
That's why we don't do it for just anyone, but I think for you, Matt.
Special people, man. Special events. So, with that said, I think, Matt, let's transition over to everybody's favorite section.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
You want to open another door?
All you.
No, you can't get points for reusing the same pun. It doesn't work.
Fine. I got to get creative with my.
You have. But believe me, since the age of 5, I've heard every joke about door. Oh, I think I've heard it.
There's your next book idea.
Puns on my name that I have heard. Yeah.
To our defense, we'd like to make a pun out of all of our guests, right? That's like the theme of our titles for the videos.
Okay. Good.
All right. Go ahead, Rodney.
You got the first one. All right. So, Matt, you've been here before.
Mm-hmm.
You know how these work?
I do.
All right. So, first question then. If you had to choose a theme song for work in Jira, would it be Eye of the Tiger or Don't Stop Leaving? Which one powers your workflow?
Oh, a theme song for work in Jira? And I have to choose one of those two.
Those two, or if you got a third one, I'd love to hear.
I would actually say Carmina Burana. In the back of my head, it's all like da 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 da. Never mind. All right. I don't know. I do listen to a lot of music. Actually, true confession, what I tend to do is put the same track on and then listen to it for about a week, constantly. No other music, so I get this sort of solid memory of what I was working on at the time based on the music. Anyway, yeah, you're looking at me strangely. You see, this is what I mean. This is a nice community that doesn't say, you're so weird.
It beats the stuff I'm listening to when I'm working on workflows.
I'm mostly lo-fi.
That'll be a LinkedIn post. What's your song that you listen to while modifying Jira workflows? Put them in the chat.
It's a whole one, Alex. All right. So next question.
Go ahead.
Do you think Jira is more like playing Dungeons and Dragons or Minecraft?
Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, I thought about creating workflows that were like a dungeon crawler. You go from one room to the other through the transition, and all of the room names are all the status. I think, didn't somebody do that a few years ago? Anyway.
Maybe.
I know Draw.io did a D&D game at Team 23, I think it was.
Yeah.
So Bob or Matt, did you, or I guess I'm going to ask Rodney, I interviewed Matt, right, back in June. And during our chat, we made some discoveries, right? So we made some like, hey, this would be a good idea. And I'm interviewing, right? And by the time I'm interviewing Matt, he's like my 10th person I've interviewed. And Matt, like, shamelessly starts writing down my ideas.
It's a best practice in a meeting, right? Take notes.
I was like, Matt, are you stealing my ideas?
Yeah, I've lost a bit of paper, so it's all safe now. You're okay.
It's all able through the recording now. But I was like, it had never happened.
That's true.
I'm like, I cannot believe like he's just like publicly just writing down my notes.
So what I do is when somebody says something that sparks other thoughts in my head, I'll usually jot a sentence or a word down. And then after the meeting, I'll sit back and look at it and go, well, yeah, that was an interesting
So the
thought.
last 55 minutes of your life have been pointless.
No. Well, I wrote one word down here. Let me read what it says. Add a question. Now, unfortunately, right now in the middle of this, I can't work out the context. It was something early on, but add a question.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, that's membership, I believe. About the membership.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
I can add a question. So there you go. So now I'll be thinking about, well, what other questions that I would add to these 5 questions?
Now that's what we should do. The one bonus question should be from the previous, or from the.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
Ooh, thank you, Stu, for the suggestion.
There you go. Look, writing things down. All right. Number 3.
Yep.
Yes.
Would you say configuring Jira feels more like solving a Rubik's Cube or assembling IKEA furniture? And which is more satisfying when it's done?
Well, the flexibility of Jira makes me think of Rubik's Cube. There's a zillion different combinations. The satisfaction, I think, is furniture. I've got something I can use, sit on, or lie on.
But the thought process, right? Like, if you've ever tried to solve a Rubik's Cube, right? The frustration you feel with the Rubik's Cube versus the frustration you feel with an IKEA furniture, like which one would you mostly relate? Trying to.
I think the Rubik's Cube, because that's the kind of thing that I enjoy. The understanding the deeper patterns. So there's the look, I can twiddle it this way and this way and this way, and then there's the but what are the recipes that I can use, the approaches to solve the bigger problem? And the same thing goes for tool configurations. It's like, well, I can just create 15 workflows, but what if I had a clever way that I had a pattern for making workflows in my head and that kind of stuff? Oh, yes. Well, quotes about IKEA.
Chris Rogers, I just responded to him that every team managed project.
Oh, I knew we were going to talk about team projects.
Team managed project is the worst idea that Atlassian has ever had.
That's been coming up a lot here lately.
Well, there was that great question somebody asked in the community about why are there team projects? And various people answered various perspectives, but
because the damn things are both easy to put together. That's why the team managed projects exist, for that reason, until they don't.
I have a confession to make before we move on to the next question. I've never had an issue putting together any IKEA furniture.
Wow, we're going to salute you here.
Since the guy who's never bought IKEA furniture, so.
I've got plenty, trust me. I got 2 just in this room, but still never had an issue.
I've never had an issue either, now that I think about it. Like, is that a thing? Like, people really have a...
I think it's, if you have trouble configuring Jira, maybe you would have trouble putting together IKEA furniture.
But
that might be a thing.
Can you imagine that Atlassian documentation was like the IKEA documentation?
Yeah. My dream documentation is Lego. If only all our complex technical documentation could be like Lego.
Those are some good documents. Rotate, twist.
Yeah.
Place exactly here.
Right.
And then Lego even has these 3D models now that will, like, you can rotate the thing around. So as you're building it step by step, you can see if, like, from a perspective, you have the right thing.
Yeah.
Genius documentation. Yeah. That last one, if you're listening, contact the homies.
More like Lego.
If Jira were Lego.
All right.
Number 4.
I'll write that down, Alex. If Jira were Lego. Yes. There you go.
I'm just trying to make the last 59 minutes of your life worth it, Matt. That's
my life is always worth it. I've got another great. Right after this call, I'm going to go and I'm doing some adult literacy where I'm helping somebody learn to read English. And boy, is that embarrassing. Yeah, you realize how bad English or how inconsistent English is.
Punch it then, Rodney. We got 30 seconds. Go.
All right, so number 4. If Jira were a character in Star Wars, would it be Darth Vader or Yoda, and why?
Oh, Jira. Yoda, because it's got 4 letters in it. Yoda because it understands deeper patterns and it's very flexible and
because they have team managed projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, good.
And the last
All
one.
right, last question. Okay, if you were to name any Atlassian product, what would it be and what would you call it?
If I were to name a new Atlassian product, rename. Oh, I would totally rename Jira Cloud. I wouldn't call it Jira Cloud because it's too confusing. People think that Jira on-prem is like Jira Cloud, which is not. It's separate code base, separate product.
What would you call it? Jira in the cloud?
I would call it Jira. Definitely. Jira. So you can tell which one you're dealing with.
This interview's over.
School.
Trello to Jira.
Oh, I like that one too. Yes, Jira Junior was has a fond place in my heart.
Jira Junior.
Right. Well, lovely chatting to you all. I think I better go and do my next thing. I hope you feel better, Rodney, too. I hope the healing continues.
It is slow but steady.
We'll close it out, Matt, because we know you got to go, but we'll close it out here with our outros that are 20 minutes long.
All right. See you around. Bye all. Bye all, everybody in the peanut gallery. Bye.
What do you guys think of the new questions?
I really think I need to get you and Lina to write these scripts more often. I think that's now your job.
This is what happens. Like the same thing happens when you work. You do a decent enough job that people realize, and then that just becomes your job now. This is why you're just supposed to suck at everything, so you don't get more responsibilities given to you. Sean, welcome to the after show.
This is the Jira Life After Dark.
Cue outro. I gotta go fix a video. Apparently, I'm making a video on Confluence and I talked about Jira.
That happens a lot. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. And as we always say, we didn't choose the Jira Life. Jira Life chose us.
Thank you for listening to the Jira Life. Our hosts are Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira Guy, Nissen. You can find Alex on YouTube at 8Tech Tutorials, and Rodney's blog is found over at thejiraguy.com. Our producers are Robert King Bob Wen and Lina Ortiz. You can catch us live as we record this podcast every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube at The Jira Life. Be sure to join us and our other Jira Amigos of the Peanut Gallery every week to ask your questions, let us know your comments, and just tell us what you're up to. But if you can't join us live, you can still catch the replay over on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell while you're watching. We're also available as a podcast over on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you listen to it and think it deserves a rating, we would very much appreciate it, as it will help others discover the Jira Life. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us.